Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza and Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast, where we are crazy all the time. This is another episode of Crazy Times with Cami and Elisabeth. No, but really, like, things are just pure chaos right now. Cami just shoved down a banana. I mean, she's like wildly starving and hungry all the time because of her pregnancy. Many crazy things.
I've always been like that too. Eat my snacks.
You have always been like that, but it was so funny because she like sat down to record and she was like, I'm so sorry. And she like got up and like went over to her bag and pulls out this like massive banana and was like, I just have to have this right now.
I was like, so I don't know how long it's going to take. If I don't have a snack in between, I am going to be, I don't know, hungry.
This is our second episode we're recording today. We have one more to go. So we can do it. But today is all about collaborating with stationers and providing them the artwork. So kind of sort of licensing, but like not really. I don't know. I view this as more of like a true collaboration friendship situation a lot of times, more than like licensing, even though you could technically put it in that category. I don't know. How do you feel, Cami?
I still kind of consider it licensing, but on like a smaller scale, because a lot of times when you say like art licensing, you're thinking of working on like bigger companies and stuff, but this is just like a little, like a mini version of that, you know, or like a little stepping stone of that. Because it kind of gives you a taste of what that would be like having someone else have your artwork and you like basically relegating control and letting them do what they want with it. So it is kind of like that. But you know, it's more personal. It's a more personal relationship because those people have to find you that they're stationers. So typically it's not like there's a marketplace of stationers looking, you know what I mean? Like it's just more like a little one-on-one kind of thing. So yeah. And it can be really great. Like I have loved doing artwork for other stationers and just providing the art stuff and doing nothing else and getting direction from them, not even speaking to a client and sending them the files and getting paid and being on my way. And I've loved doing that. And I haven't really actively seeked it out, I guess, but the opportunities have kind of come to me. And if I see something that seems like a good fit, I'll throw my name in the ring. But it's been good. It's a nice little thing you can do if you really just enjoy the artwork part.
Yeah, I know. And over time too, I think like Cami and I have realized how nice it is to have a little bit of that buffer so that you aren't working directly with the client. You can let someone else take care of that. And that's actually kind of like my number one rule with wedding stuff anymore. Like if I take on something for a wedding, I'm either going to be working directly with the planner for invitations or I'm going to be working with another stationer where I provide them artwork. Like not really a fan of doing so much one-on-one anymore. That's just like not where my heart lies and where I want to be spending my time. But we wanted to give you guys some insight into what this looks like. Like if you're interested in kind of pursuing this option where you would provide your artwork and still be part of a wedding invitation suite without actually having to do all the direct work with the client, then this episode is for you. It's been one that's been on the docket for a while and it's kind of gotten like shoved and pushed around a couple of times, but we are finally getting to it. And what better time than when we're kind of like wrapping up a year going into a new year, because maybe this will help you strategize with some future goals that you might be having for yourself. So let's start with the best way to find other people to collaborate with.
Yeah. So, I mean, whether you're I guess it has kind of come from two angles. If you are the artist looking for stationers to work with, versus if you're the stationer looking for artists, you know what I mean? So I'm going to talk from like the artist perspective. Like if I'm looking to provide my artwork to other stationers, I think the best way to do it, let's just all start with Instagram, obviously, is by looking at other stationers and seeing, are they tagging like other artists being like, oh, I worked artwork by so-and-so on this suite. Like, do you know that they're not painting all their own elements? Like someone like me as a stationer, obviously, if you reached out to me and said like, I want to do artwork for you, like, I'm like, well, that my whole business model is like me doing the artwork. So I'm not a good fit. So you have to kind of know the business model of that particular stationer and whether they are already kind of doing that, whether they would be open to that. So you can kind of see if they're like tagging other artists on different suites and being like, so-and-so did the calligraphy, so-and-so did this. Like Emily Baird, someone who comes to mind because I worked with her on a couple things, and she'll tag who did the calligraphy, she'll tag who did the art. So you can, like, okay, she's working with other people to bring this suite to life. And she's basically the overall designer of it all, but getting those other pieces.
I feel like she has painted some things herself before too.
Yeah, she does paint some stuff herself, but
okay.
It just kind of depends. And then if you're the stationer looking for artists, I feel like that's a little trickier, but I feel like that's just being like, hey, do you do this kind of stuff? And just like a quick reaching out, because most artists are willing to do that kind of thing. So yeah, looking for seeing who's already kind of having those kind of relationships and their business model is set up that way.
Yes. And well, I think people reach out to you, Cami, because they know that you paint all of your own things.
Yeah.
So they're like, if Cami paints all of her own things, maybe she would be willing to paint something for me or something for my client, like even though she doesn't have creative control over the invitation suite as a whole.
Yeah. And I mean, I've kind of marketed myself as like an artist, like more so than just a stationer. So yeah. And then obviously referrals. I mean, this industry is kind of built on networking, especially with things like this. Like, what can you offer? What kind of skills do you do? Who's the best printer for this? Like, so those referrals. So just start talking about it. Like, start talking like, hey, I also do artwork. Like, I do pet portraits. I do venue illustrations. Like, those are huge ones that people are always looking for. Things like, crest, whatever. Those are like the three biggest ones. Maps. Oh, those are also huge. And you can talk like, oh, I provide this artwork file. Like, just talk about it so you can start getting those referrals from people and from other stationers too.
Yeah. And I wrote down that, like, truly, I feel like this starts with building genuine relationships, because I have had a little bit of I don't want to say easier. That's not the right word to use. But like the smoother ability to transition into doing this, because I already have so many strong relationships with other people in the industry, like stationers that I have been friends with for a long time, like Britt of Swell Press. Like, I have provided her a couple venue illustrations for client projects before. That was just a previous relationship we had, which made it really easy for us to also work together, like in an art capacity, I guess you could say. So genuinely interacting with people, looking at other people as people, not just a number. Like, even with like, this also applies to wedding planners. If you're trying to work with wedding planners, anybody that you're trying to work with, just starting with that relationship first and replying to their stories that like aren't wedding related, stories about their pets or their extracurricular activities or TV that they're watching that night. Like, I don't know, just like be a real person. I know that sounds so like silly.
But also make sure your offerings are clear, because and when you kind of become known for the things that you put out, like I kind of became known for crests and maps. And so a lot of times people would ask for those licensing wise, or, a specific watercolor element. Like, I'm obviously only going to do watercolor. Like, people aren't going to reach out to me for line drawing. So when you can really define your style, that when people's clients are asking, oh, I really want to do this type of illustration, they send an example. They're like, oh, who comes to mind immediately? This is exactly Cami style or exactly Sarah style or whoever.
Yep.
And I'm going to reach out to them to see if they'll do it, because you've kind of made yourself known in the industry as the watercolor person, or the person who does, beautiful portraits of families, like things like that, where you usually immediately come to mind. And that's why it's so important to like start creating those things that you really love to do and just like honing in on them, because you'll get more opportunities from it.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, another thing about being friends with people in your industry is, because I know that a lot of people, especially if you're new to the industry, you can get really caught up in like, oh, but those people are my competition. No, like, my peers are like my best friends. Like, people in this industry are truly my best friends, like Cami or Kelsey Kelly or Holly from Sablewood, like all these ladies who are so amazing, even though quote unquote might be competition. Like, they're also wonderful women that can either refer me or I can refer them. And so the longer you're in business, the more referrals will come down the pipeline when somebody's books fill up. And you always like want to be there as an option for that, I guess. And tell people too, like, just make it clear, like with your friends of like, hey, if anyone ever comes to you and asking for this, like, I know that's not your specialty. Would you be willing to send them my way? Like, don't come out of the gate with that, obviously. But once you have like a relationship with people, it's like pretty easy to have those conversations of what you might want that to look like.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, everyone's favorite place to find other referrals is Facebook groups, because people will post in the stationery groups all the time, be like, I need a map for this, but here's the turnaround time in 2 weeks. And there are tons of opportunities there. And once you kind of work with a stationer once and they kind of understand if you guys work well together, you'll probably get more opportunities working with them and create a good partnership. So definitely throw your name in the ring on those Facebook posts and see if you can find some, because I think I see some like every few days, or at least
I know. I see those constantly. And yeah, join the stationery groups, join the A to Z directory. Like, you have to pay to be part of our membership, but people are asking about that kind of stuff in there all the time. And here's what I have to say about that too. Like, do more than the bare minimum, right? Like, throw your name in the ring, like comment on the post for sure. Go out of your way to find the email of the person who is asking this question. If you really want to have that work and take on that project, email them directly. You will make their lives so much easier. Send them 2 to 3 photos. Like, here are examples of other work that I have done that I think are fitting what you look for.
Here are
my rates. Yes. Here is my pricing. You're doing all this work for them. You're popping up in their email inbox. And rather than like the lottery of like, they might choose a couple people out of that Facebook thread, take initiative. Get in there, sister.
No, that is such great advice, because having that ready, because they need to quickly tell their client like, oh yeah, we can do a custom venue illustration. It's going to be, whatever amount of money. And like, if you are like, I don't really know, it kind of depends. Like, it's going to be very hard for them to start working with you. I will say that's a big thing. If you're going to start collaborating with other stationers, is you need to know your rates, like, or at least a range to give them and be like, yeah, something like that. I'll be around this much, and if we're adding 14 cats into the painting or whatever, like, it's going to be more, but you can give them an estimate, because they're not the client, the final client working with you. Like, they have someone else, they have to get approved for the budget for this. So it's all kind of like coming back. So you can't really it just depends. Like, you can't play that game with this,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a little more structured. So,
yep, definitely a little more structured. And the last 2 points are, Cami and I say this all the time, what you show sells. So whether you are posting it on your Instagram or you're posting it on your website, you've got to put it out there in the world that you're looking for these opportunities. And I mean, some people do like purely referral based work too, which is fine. Like, if you've built your business like that, more power to you. But if you're starting out like very fresh and you're wanting to do this, then when you're posting on Instagram, use the proper hashtags, make it very clear that you're looking to partner with stationers in the industry and provide your artwork to them, whether it's venues or maps, crests, all those things Cami mentioned. And also, it never hurts to add a little bit of a section to your website that provides more information for stationers who want to partner with you. And then if you're applying to one of those Facebook groups and emailing people, you can be like, hey, by the way, here's the page on my website that goes more into depth on my process, and maybe your rates live there and a couple other things too. And then you're just going to look even more professional and put together, and people love that.
It's always good to look professional and put together, y'all.
Look professional, but be horrible. No, I'm kidding. You got to look professional, and you got to back that up with your actions too, okay?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Also, some things to think about. Let's talk about when you're actually partnering with the stationer. Let's say, yeah, you got the job, their client liked your work, and the budget worked out and everything's great. Timeline worked out. That's another huge thing. I feel like everything's like, I need this in 3 days. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. You obviously want to make their lives easy, make the process as easy as possible for them. And, just this is a nice collaboration. And they are dealing with the client, and they are probably going to get the feedback and send it back to you. So it's all like coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different opinions with this one. And then also how you deliver the file is really important. So they'll let you know whether they need, PNG, JPEG, PDF, whatever type of file they need for it. Vector, if it's, spot calligraphy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like sometimes when I provide artwork for a venue illustration, I'll provide like the full venue illustration, but then I'll also do like something secondary where it's like a more isolated venue. Like I'll take out the sky or something and I'll be like, this is something you could use like a smaller piece. Like I sometimes will do like a little bit extra on that when it's something that I know I can easily manipulate my artwork, but they might not be able to.
Yes.
Or she's like, the client's not sure if it should have this flag on there. And I was like, well, I'll send you one with both and you could make that decision. Like, that's not a big deal to me to like kind of go the extra step on something like that. Just to, show my versatility and make their lives easier because I know how hard it is dealing with clients.
Yeah.
And if it's something like this will take me 2 seconds in Photoshop and I can provide both, like that's a great way to like keep their lives easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to say, like, I do something super similar. Most of the times that I have done this, it has been artwork that's going to be vectorized because it's going to be letterpressed. And so I like providing a file that is not expanded into paths and a file that is expanded into paths. And then if they look at the way that I did it, the way that I expanded it and traced the image and all of that stuff to turn it into a vector, and they don't feel that that's like pertinent to their style or what the client wants, then they can use the other file to do it their own on the back end and experiment with the settings a little more and play around with that. But I just like trying to like make it as easy on them as possible. That's how you will continue to get more work from them in the future. One of the projects I did was literally like pretty much like almost an entire map. So I took like a day to do it. It was super, super fun for me. It was like totally down my alley. I drew the roads. I drew the illustrations. I like laid things out best I could in Illustrator. I typed up the road names, like all of the stuff. And I basically gave her the file and I was like, do whatever the heck you want. I don't care. I was like, I at least gave the bones of this like in place because she was like, maps just aren't my expertise. I just feel like I'm losing my mind. So I gave her like the skeleton version, right? Which like, yes, she could have printed as it was, but I told her, I was like, I want you to like use the fonts you want, like move things around as much as you want. Rescale things if you need to. I was like, literally do whatever the heck. Like, I don't care. Like, this is yours to like manipulate with and play with and have fun. You already paid me for like my time. I know that the final end result is going to be like absolutely beautiful. I don't doubt that one little bit. And so that's why it's nice to work with people that you know and trust, like their quality of work, because then you don't like get nervous that they're going to do something crazy with it, which like most people don't. I don't think I've only heard like a couple stories here and there, like quote unquote horror stories of trying to like provide artwork for people. So I feel like it's a little more like the stress threshold is like a little less.
Yeah, for sure. And like also I was just thinking some of the things I do ask for before I start like doing the artwork. I ask like if they have an idea of where it will be printed, because that will affect like the scale and sizing and proportions of things too. So I'll ask about that. If they're like, just something, it can be used for a lot of different things. I'm like, that's fine. Okay. If they want it horizontal or vertical, if I'm doing a venue, like something like that, as well as, it just literally left my brain. Like it's right there at the second thing I asked for.
I like asking for like a mock-up of the suite, like where they currently have it.
Oh, I always ask, like, did you have a reference photo in mind, like an angle that you really loved of this venue, or can I choose one? Like, did your client have one in mind where they really love this angle of the venue or something like that? Like, to send examples. Sometimes we're just like, no, you could go whatever, do whatever you want. Or other times we're like, this is the angle we love because it overlooks this part of the mountain or whatever. So, so those types of things, just to make sure I'm being as clear as possible. I also love when they send me, or I always ask for too, like if they did like a mood board for the suite or any sort of like stylistic things that I could just look at, or for the planner put together, like, a vision board. It just helps me make sure I'm still working within their boundaries of design that's going to fit really well.
Yep. All of that is amazing advice. Definitely getting as much information up front as possible. Like I like having, if they can, I like having them send a mock-up of the suite, like as far as they've gotten, or sketches of the suite, to see like ultimately what they're planning for layout.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked for that, actually. I usually am just like, what kind of color vibe are we going with here?
Yeah.
So I can make sure if I'm doing this venue, do you want it like more sunsetty or like are we doing more like winter? Like,
yeah,
um,
yeah, that totally makes sense. And then kind of what Cami and I were saying too is just to keep a loose grip, I think, and loose expectations for how the final product will turn out. Like, obviously, you don't want them to take your artwork and just trash it, but I don't think people are going to do that. But like in that instance, you have to remember, like, you're providing the artwork. At the end of the day, you're not the designer on the project. The designer's trying to please their client. So there might be little tweaks and edits that are made, and you might need to be okay with that to a degree. And if you're not okay with that at all, you would have to have a contract written up or something to specify, I think, those expectations. But all the times that I have worked on things like this with stationers in the industry, I already have a pretty good, like, running relationship with them. And so I've never had a contract for something like this. But I don't know about you, Cami.
this is so funny because I always send a contract.
Okay,
which
nice.
is like the opposite. Usually I'm like, no, whatever. No, I always send a contract. And even there's a stationer I work with and I've licensed the same artwork to different clients, and every single time I send a new contract for that it's the same venue illustration. She uses it like once a month, and she's like, okay, we're using it again. I'm like, okay. And she already has all the files, and I'm just like, here's the new contract, here's the invoice. Because I am a little tighter with my artwork. Like, I don't say, here, you can manipulate however you want. Mine's like, you can't color change it. You can't do this. Anything that you want edited has to come back to me and be approved by me first. Like, I have the final say on that. I'm not going to let you. That's in my contract you can't just like make the sky a different color, because I don't know I know how I like to edit it and what'll look good. And so if they want something changed, they have to come back to me, and just talking about, the whole revision thing. That doesn't include this, the payment schedule, how all that works. Basically, here's what they can use it for and what they can't use it for. It's still all the copyright stuff, like all that is in the contract too. So it's just like a miniature extended license contract, basically.
Yeah. See, I love that. That's perfect. Like, I'm glad that you do have that in place, and that we can give people 2 examples of me, Elisabeth, more loose and casual with some of her artwork. Like, I just don't, because these projects are pretty few and far between for me, and because I'm working with people that I know really well, I know the standard and the quality of their work, I don't feel the need to do that. But that totally makes sense, Cami, with this, like, especially that venue that they're using multiple times for multiple clients. It's like they're relicensing it every time. Like, yes, you don't want that to be edited or altered, because then what if somebody else sees it and they're like, oh yeah, I also want the sky on mine to be pink. And you're like, this isn't how I wanted this artwork to like be used in the long term. So that makes sense.
Well, it's just like, once you open it up to like a little bit of manipulation, like, I don't want my name to be on something that I'm like, that's not what I did. Or like, you took a flower and then edited it and made it like a really weird proportion. Now it doesn't look right. Or you like cut it up and put petals here, and that's not the product I gave you. But I've had to do like some color changes with a project for when I worked with Kara from XOYO, and it was a mountain painting, and she was like, now the clients we decided to go like more, I can't remember if it was like we were doing a sunset or we needed to take out the sunset or something. She's like, I know that's what I said, but like, we need to just change it. And I was like, that's no problem. I can do that in like 3 seconds, And she was like, perfect. So yeah, something like that. But that wasn't really her. And she was like, I'm so sorry. It was more like the client literally changed complete directions on everything, like in the middle of the situation. So
yeah, and that's why it is smart to have the contract, as maybe it's not so much the stationer, it's more like the client.
Yeah,
then the stationer
can
put the boundaries with the client when the client's like, I want to put something crazy in this artwork, and then the stationer could be like, I have to go back and check with the original artist because we signed the contract with them on that. But yeah, I feel like I was going to say like one other note on that too, but I don't remember what I was going to say. Both
of us are having brain farts today.
I know. Both of us are having brain farts today, but it's just that I haven't done it enough that I would be like, worried about something like that. And maybe it's because like we've had this conversation before of like, I view myself as more of an entrepreneur than an artist. So if somebody were to like take something of mine and like, I don't know, add a wreath onto a door or whatever it is that I illustrated for them, my literal reaction would be like, because like I didn't expect to like have my name on this at the end of the day. That was the thought that I was going to put out there. Like, I don't really expect to be like, if this is on Instagram, like I don't personally expect to be credited with the illustrations. I don't personally I like being a wallflower. I don't need the credit. You guys did the work. You designed with the clients. You put it out there. Like I might use images. Maybe I'll ask you personally, can I have some images for my portfolio later if other people ask me for my work? But that's like how I feel. Like everyone has to figure out how they feel in a certain instance and what the rules and the boundaries are.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have licensed artwork and I've never seen what the final product looks like, so I don't even know what they did. But it's just more like, if I see you using this with other clients and you didn't pay for it, like it just outlines like, this is what it's for, like this project. And, that made it very clear that I can keep the same stationer I work with on the same artwork. Like if she was sneaky, she would have just kept using it and that would have been not cool. But she's like, no, this is not right. Like this is in your contract that you have to be, any new project has to be like relicensed. And so it just covers your booty. I like to cover the booty.
Always cover your booty. And Cami does this on a scale like much bigger than me. So that totally makes sense. And this is very funny because this is like reverse role reversal right
like,
now.
Whatever, I don't care. But very weird.
No, like I mean, you've always been super protective of your artwork and your IP, intellectual property, and all of that. So that's important. Okay, let's talk a little bit too then how we charge for something like this. So I'll jump in real quick and say that like that map that I was talking about before, where I did a whole bunch of illustrations, points of interest, kind of laid out the roads, and then kind of told her, have fun with it, do whatever you want. I charged $500 for that. That was what felt right to me. But if I did like an individual illustration and spot calligraphy, I feel like that would start anywhere from $100 to $150. I would never charge less than $100 for something that I'm providing to another stationer usually. But I also I'm doing line drawings on my iPad. I have that process nailed down. I can turn it around really quick. So I understand my time that goes into it. And that's why I charge the way I do for something like that. But Cami probably has more interesting, different insight because of the watercolor aspect of things.
So I charge between $500 and $2,500 per illustration. So just depends. And sometimes we'll make it like a little package and you get like a little, so it's like, oh, here's $3,000 for this package or $5,000 or whatever, whatever it is. So it just kind of depends, but that's where my pricing is currently at the moment. So it does depend per project, but at least know what it's going to be. Like if you were like, I need this dog, I'm like, okay, that's going to be like $500, $600, like whatever. Like that's,
okay.
Something like that. So
an individual piece. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Oh, the last final question. Should you expect to receive photos back of your work if you're partnering with other people?
I never expect it. Like at the point that I have sent off the artwork, I'm just like, my job is done here, like the end.
Yeah,
but I do have stationers that'll be like, oh, I'm going to send you a sample, or here's what it ended up looking like, or tag me on Instagram. And I love that too. But I do not expect to see it by any means. I don't even care if I get credited, honestly. But I know a lot of times their clients are like really excited that I did the artwork and they'll tag me on stuff too. So I don't know. I don't expect it, but it's always cool to see that. And I do it is fun to see it all come together and be like, oh, we partnered on that and look at this beautiful thing we made. So
yeah, exactly.
So sometimes I get tagged. Sometimes I don't.
I'm kind of in the same category of in this instance, I don't ever expect to receive anything back. I will ask if I'm extra curious, hey, do you have a picture of how that turned out? I would love to see the final result.
I actually got an email from a client yesterday. And she was like, I wanted to show you how everything ended up with all the stuff you did. I was like, oh my It was really cool to see, and it looked amazing.
Wow.
I
Super
know.
cool.
So she totally followed up and just put a bunch of photos in an email.
Did she pay for like a bundle of a bunch of artwork that she used for different things?
Yeah. We did like a crest, and then she took some elements of that too and stuff. So it looked really cool.
Nice.
Yes. I don't even know who the stationer was, honestly.
That's fun. Okay, so like the client license.
Well, like the crest, obviously, like what a crest client orders from me, I just give them the digital file, and I'm like, you can use that however you want, like with the contract.
Okay, do you still let people place orders for that through your website?
Yes, up until now, it's all sold out because I'm trying to prepare for having a baby. So no. I still have one more crest actually I got to do by the end of the year. So
okay.
So yes, I liked it like that. That was good. And if it was like it's on there that it was like a 6 to 8 week turnaround because that was very doable for me. And then now it's like email me and I can see if I have the availability, which I'm not, but it's like leaves it open.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Well, I'll let you do housekeeping because we already kind of got through everything for that episode. So I don't think there's much else to talk about.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see. Well, of course, leave us a 5-star rating review on iTunes. Okay. If you are drinking coffee today, it is your turn to leave a review. So that's everybody, obviously, except for Elisabeth, because she would lose her mind if she drinks coffee. We can't handle it. And then if you have more questions for us, follow-up questions to this episode or anything else, just go to bizbirthdaybash.com/Q&Cake and you can ask your question there. And we will get to it 2 years later. Just kidding.
Yeah, right.
But serious. No, if you have a question that hasn't been answered before, we will get to it for sure. We need some freshies in there. And then, give us a little tag on Instagram, screenshot this, tag us. We love getting credit for that when you're listening to us. Tag us on there and make sure that you let us know that you're listening to us. I just lost my train of thought. Went out the window. You know why?
That's okay because
I looked at myself recording. Every time I look at myself, you guys, I like forget what I'm talking about because I'm like, look at that idiot. So I have to turn on my camera.
No, you're good. Well, you had it on this whole time and you did so great.
I know. It's because I was looking out the window.
I have one more really important announcement that I have to make.
Okay.
And the announcement is that you guys have to go look up Noodle the Pug because he is on TikTok and it's the cutest little thing.
Now that trend's going to be over by the time this comes out.
I know. It probably will be. But it's really cute because this gentleman has this 13-year-old pug. His name is Noodle. And his handle is actually John Graz on TikTok. JONGRAZ. And he does this cute little thing with Noodle the Pug every morning on whether or not it's a bones or a no bones day because his pug is like so old. So sometimes the pug will like stand up in the morning, but sometimes if he tries to set him up, he'll just like flop back down because he has no bones because he's old.
He's probably going to die by the time this episode comes out.
I know. I'm kind of like worried. No, but actually, Cami, this episode's coming out next week.
Oh, never mind. I'll still be alive.
So it's not that far away. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I hope I do not jinx it.
But that is jinxed it.
Cute little end announcement of the day before we wrap up with you guys. That is something I've been loving on TikTok lately because this app has sucked me in. Okay. It has totally sucked me in the past like 2 weeks. It's been so bad.
Oh no.
But I love it because it makes me laugh so hard.
Yeah. TikTok. It's the worst. It's the worst and the best.
Yeah. So we love you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys. Seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. and it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.